Heavens above, we'll be paying gift tax in a minute. At 45, 47, 50. At 47, 47, 47, 50. At 47,000 now. At 5 and a 5 to 8. Come on, a grand old judge at the back of us thinking who it is. At 5 and a 5 to 8. At 5 down to 5 down to 5,000 now. At 5 down to the 5 down to the 5,000. We'll go with it with a couple of hundred, Lou. At 5 and a 5 to 8. At 52. At 52, 52, I'm not going to hurt you, son. At 52, 52, 52. At 52, 52, I'm going to be driving the right there. At $5,200.
What would you say your ambition is?
Oh, I think probably become a top auctioneer. That's what, has been my aim all my working career.
And what is a top auctioneer?
Probably a top auctioneer is a man who does his job very professionally, probably with a bit of flair, and gains the most money for what he's selling. That's what the client's paying you for.
10,000, 10,000 now. 10,000, 10,000, 10,000.
In the process of gaining more money for his client, the auctioneer is of course gaining more for himself. He works on a percentage. A $20,000 pedigreed stallion returns this auctioneer a fee of $1,200, 6%. The rate varies amongst auctioneers and between one class of livestock and another.
At $20,000, we'll take a 500 anywhere down there. At $20,000. Now, come on, heavens above, how can you value a horse like that to $500?
For the lowly animals, commercial animals that provide our meat and wool, the rate is around 3%. Most auctioneers earn this lower rate because most auctioneers operate only on commercial markets, and the ordinary meat and wool producing animals do make up the bulk of Australia's livestock. Most of these animals are sold at local country sale yards, and the men who auction them are locals themselves. They concentrate on the bread and butter trade.
Make money, $9. $22 on Smuggling.
The business of selling purebred animals, the cream of the crop, is the preserve of the big national and multinational agencies. The argument is that they have the advantage in being able to publicise a sale through their many branches and thousands of employees. They can get more buyers to come to a sale and thus get higher prices. The argument has been accepted by the Australian stud industry, and for quite a while the big boys have had the field to themselves. Except that some people never learn, and now there's another little cat trying to lick up some of that cream. Anthony Charles Fountain is a 20th century pirate with an auctioneer's gavel as his symbol. Have gavel, will travel. He is likely to turn up anywhere in Australia trying to win a client away from the establishment. He is a lone wolf, more appropriately, a cattle dog, nipping at the heels and flanks of big business. He is the Scarlet Pimpernel of the Australian livestock world. Tony Fountain is an impertinence.
$5 and $600 down here now, 10 and now, 25 and now, 35 and now, 50 now.
The small-time stock and station agency is an institution in rural Australia. People who live in the country are very familiar with this kind of business, but there's really no equivalent in the city. It's a kind of department store where one can buy or order virtually anything. But more importantly, it's a service agency, where service is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Fountain & Co. consists of Tony himself, Hugh Moffat, the other partner, very much the figures man, young Bob Moncrief, and a small office staff, including Tony's wife, Sally.
Weathers, 12 months old, so the August-September drop. They were shorn about a month.
In every respect except one, it looks like any traditional agency.
$18 long.
It's quite obvious what kind of business it conducts.
No, they're a pretty good line of weathers. Yeah, meals and vaccinated, everything right about them.
The clue to the uniqueness of this agency can be seen in Tony Fountain's office. It is empty, and nearly always so, because the man himself is off chasing new business. Not content to be a local part-time auctioneer of ordinary livestock, the man who owns this office is trying to become known on the national scene. He has served notice to the big companies that they can no longer keep all the glamour business themselves. From the traditional and conservative base of the little rural agency, Tony Fountain has indicated to the auctioneering profession that some changes are on the way.
We're changing the image of an auctioneer, I hope, away from being a part of a corporation, insofar as a big company worth many, many millions of dollars, in 3 or 4 cases hundreds of millions of dollars, to where someone is hired for their own ability to do that job. And that's what I was saying about being a professional, that you're just not an auctioneer who is part of an agency team. The auctioneer is the man, or the person's man, I haven't seen a female one, except Mrs. Higgins on the south coast, but is the man really, when it all boils down, everything you do towards the sale, the final crunch is the 3 minutes that fellow is auctioneering your lot. So it seems to me if that man's going to wear the responsibility of either making or losing money for you, he should do it in a professional manner.
Virtually every day the little plane flies in or out of town, the town of Grenfell in southern New South Wales. The Flying Fountain covers 300,000 kilometres a year, the equivalent of flying from Sydney to Perth 100 times. Last year the auctions that Tony conducted grossed $2 million. $2 million which up to now would have gone to the other larger companies.
The professional auctioneer can't and shouldn't leave anything to chance. So therefore, you rely very much upon your team. Now we've got a small team. We're competing against companies that have employed thousands of people. So we've got to be better and different, otherwise we go under.
We can leave it open in the morning while they're looking
Yeah,
down,
right.
and then just I'll bring little gates closed
Oh, yeah,
up in
right.
the afternoon.
Well, we'll bring our barbecue lights up. When I come over to see how the fellas are going, I never feel worried about it, because when you boil it all down, I suppose I'm the one that calls the shots, and if it doesn't suit me, it's going to work. So you just ask them politely, could they redo it to your satisfaction? Now, sometimes the flak hits the fan, but that's the way it's got to be. You don't reckon that ring might be a little bit big, without wishing to upset you? I just think, so with one bloke and one beast in the ring, because we haven't got any pens to sell, have we?
No.
We're all singles, aren't we?
It's all singles.
You're all singles. If we cut, well, we can do it. Don't worry, Father. If we run it across to that 1, 2, 3, 4th post.
Where are we going to make it?
Watching the men prepare for a sale is like watching a team of stagehands before opening night. It's easier to grasp the essentials of this unusual profession in show business terms. A play will open here shortly, but for this play, opening night will also be closing night. When the curtain falls, there'll be no second chance. It can't get better.
But we'd have it belted out.
The sun will be setting out over here, won't it? Out over
You've got
there.
people sitting.
It's going to be out over that.
That's right.
That
Sitting
way in
across
the
that way.
afternoon.
Yeah. So if we put the rostrum in there, we just get a dozen bales of straw, rig it up, put the PA system on the shed here. Bees knees. See, all you really need wash on them is probably more the white than anything. It's just a case of shampooing the white, because the Hereford red will stay. It'll clean up anyway with the shampoo coming off the white.
When the show starts, there'll be a large supporting cast, but only one star. A star who will be centre stage from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And you slosh it on them and rub it in with a bit of a broom or something, and then just hose them down, you'll find they'll come up looking $1 million.
As both star and stage manager, the man has plenty to think about.
Well, I think the auctioneer's got to run the crowd. The minute the crowd runs the auctioneer, you know, I think you've had it.
How do you mean the crowd run the auctioneer?
Well, you know, relating it to a live performance on a theatre, not that... I suppose basically we are in the same line of business. When a performer starts, he plays a few bars on his guitar, and the way the lights have come in, everything, the crowd are receptive to him. Same with an auction. Once we start an auction with the music and that, unless you've got them in the first 1 or 2 lots, when I say got them, that they're following me, and I'm... how do you put it? What I've got to do is get them to accept the fact, or the premise, not the fact, but the premise that I know what I'm selling and what their values are. So if I call $2,000 for the first lot, they don't think, oh, it's only worth $300. They'll be somewhere within it. If someone bids $1,000, bang, 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 we're away. Boof, the first lot's knocked down, then we go into the second lot. Then I'm running the auction. If the first lot takes ages to sell, and then they say, well, look, I mentally to themselves, well, I can bid whenever I want to because this bloke won't knock it down, they're running me.
200 low and fast, right. That's good. 10, pretty. That's to the 20, 30. That's to the 30, 30. That's to the 30, 40. That's to the 40, 40, 40. That's to the 40, 40, 40. That's to the 40, 40. Beautiful little car. We done him here for 50. That's to 60.
For a professional auctioneer to be worth his oats, he's got to be able to sell anywhere at any time. And that runs the whole variant from an air-conditioned, specially built selling complex to a little roper arena way up in the Western Plains. The important thing is that he creates the atmosphere that he wants, he has the selling arena working the way that he wants it to work, and that he gets as much money as he can for his client, because that's what he's paid to do.
Smooth the baby's bottom. That's $5,800. Now, come on, you know you're getting a steal. She's saying no, just got the vibrations, Lou. That's 58, 58, 58. That's 58, 58, 5800. That's $5,800. Done out, done out, done there. That's 5,800. Done there. Goes to the back, $5,800.
One of the most important things for a livestock auctioneer, I think, is to establish his reputation as a judge of livestock. We sell a fair number of cattle and horses virtually over the telephone to people because they trust my judgment. And I think if someone is going to trust thousands of dollars to you, you know, you've got to know as much about that product as you possibly can. And whilst naturally we love to sell high quality stock because they make more money, therefore more commission, you've got to take every sale as you find it because they're all still income. And the fellow today who might have medium quality stock to sell could well be your breeder of top stock another 10 years. And with our clients, we haven't got a business, so they're all valuable. You know, what age do they go up to?
Oh, about 9 or 10 years old is the oldest one. From unjoined heifers up to 9 or 10
Well,
years
most of the
old.
older cows, they'd have calves on them now, or they...
Well, some have, some haven't, but the bull's been running with them all the time.
right.
And that'd be...
Well, we'd be really better off if we, providing the old cows are sort of holding their condition at all, we'd be better off selling the... One of the grey areas we come across is valuing livestock for sale. You go to a fellow's property and look at his stock, and straight away you feel you know the market value of them, but you realise because of the client's sentimental attachment to them, because of the time and effort he's put into breeding them, that you've got a little bit of a difference there. You've got to soften him down into it. But then again, by the same token, you know, you're there to get as much money for the man as you can.
He doesn't make a cent until he actually makes a sale in the ring. But in a way, he's selling all the time, selling himself. He travels a great deal in search of business and meets a lot of people. He has to be prepared to give sound, professional advice whenever asked, any time of the day or night. And he has to be friendly. He does this with every potential client. And since he mixes in a world of livestock owners, that means virtually everyone he meets.
Look down to the counter and, geez, beautiful set of legs.
The need to make that good impression is a burden that many of us would find heavy. On Tony Fountain, it seems to sit lightly, as if it were a very small price to pay for success. Do you think you'll be able to judge how successful you are from the size of your income?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a... Well, my job's a hobby, really, and I don't think if you ever became a millionaire out of it, you'd say you were necessarily successful. Obviously, you have to be partly successful. But
Australians do judge success by money, though, don't they?
Yeah, as long as I had enough money to live the way I wanted to without being the Aga Khan or someone, I'd be happy. Cause
Do you think that what you do could make you wealthy?
Probably not. I think we'll certainly get probably a good income out of it. It just depends. You can split the business. You can split the business off on a tangent and go for more branches of our company, but then that defeats the purpose of the exercise because it's a very personalised business. And once you get bigger, then you're in the same league as all the big companies, and then someone else starts like we start and erodes us. So we're neither your bum nor your elbow, really, because we're right in the middle of the thing. We're not a big company, we're not a small company. And being a small company is a bit like guerrilla warfare. You can zip and zap around the country and chop away at the foundations of the other fellas. See?
What about as a child? Did you know what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I was going to be a minister for a while. I found out what the pay was, and then I dropped out of that. No, actually, when I first left school, I wanted to go and join the Fleet Air Arm. And unfortunately, my level of mathematics differed somewhat to what they reckoned they needed. And then I joined the bank for 6 months and wanted to leave the day after I started. It wasn't a job for me. Oh, Jesus, no way. So then I came back and started working with my father, and I've been auctioneering ever since.
As a school child, as a student, what were you like?
Oh, tremendous. One of the brains of the school. No, I got 4 Bs. I proved I was a gentleman, I suppose, but that was about it. But I used to love written subjects, but expression subjects, but all the rest of it was all junk. Bloody hopeless. They could never understand me. I was a wanton child.
That's 78, 78, 78, 78, 78, you're all out that way. That's 78, 78, 78, that's 78, we're going to roll them out there.
Tony did his apprenticeship in the local stock market. There's no interest in pedigrees here. This is the 3% business. A sheep fetching $20 gives the auctioneer only 60 cents. But the volume is enormous and the pace a cracker.
21, 10, that's 21, 10, 20, that's 21, 20, that's 21, 20, 30, 40, that's 21, 20, 21, 40, same old line, 50, that's 21, 50, 21, 50, 60, that's 21, 60, take a 10, 8 money, 21, 16, 8, 70, that's 21, 80, that's 21, 80, 20, 80, come on in, 90, that's 20, round it off to the 22 to keep the books right, that's 21, 90, done out, done there. 21, 80. Which way? 21, 9 to,
Oh, boys, tell them what for, 20. I'm at $20, I'm at $20. 20, 60, 80. $20, 80 now. $20, 80. $20, 80 the money. Quicker, Buddy. Who's going to book them up? $20. I'm at $20, I'm at $20. $20, 80. Five the money. Quicker, Buddy.
The Australian country sale yard is no place for men who think slowly or who talk slowly. The measured tones of an English art auctioneer wouldn't cope with this kind of volume. 1 pen of sheep every 30 seconds. And if the auctioneer doesn't keep up, he loses his place.
Quicker! 20! 30! 40! 21! 40 the money! Quicker!
On an average day at sale yards like these, 25,000 sheep are delivered for sale. Those trucks that come in first often go out again another 100 kilometres or so to get a second load. This is the supermarket of the Australian livestock industry, and this is where the agency boys get their education.
As a young fella, you start off as the gopher. You know, you go for this, you go for that. You go into the back of trucks to pull out sheep. You go over the rails to pick up a book some bloke forgot. You go over the rails to get the drinks. You go over the rails like a blue-ass fly to catch sheep that have run away. You know, you're always going things or doing things. But it's a great teacher of discipline and stockmanship.
Wayne Reed, Wayne Reed. I don't know, just probably.
Yeah. Well, I reckon that as they were going through, there's pretty well all except, you know, just a small pail on them. So
Yeah.
if we knock that out and put them separately, we'll be right.
I'll leave it all to you then.
Yeah, have a give it a flutter, see how we go.
Hey, 15 there, fellas, all up there for your pies amongst the members. Just cut away there, please. You've got, say, 15 to go. 15 we've got. 10, 15, 20, 15, 20,
When he was at school, his vocational counsellor agreed that auctioneering could be the right job for him. Tony and his teachers didn't agree very often. His school reports show that he lacked discipline. He went at everything like a bull at a gate. He wouldn't concentrate on detail.
Hey, Clive, what way?
It's improved in the last few days. It's got to, I'd say...
The detail thing seems to have been mastered. He goes to some pains to get the local market information and to learn the pedigrees of the stud animals that he's going to sell. He's become an experienced cross-country pilot, an activity that requires long periods of concentration and concern for detail. When that schoolteacher agreed that auctioneering could be suitable, he was probably thinking of the personality of his young student, and one can imagine thinking rather wearily. With the boy's lack of inhibition, he must have been very disruptive in class, hopeless for discipline.
Hiya, boys. This here's called a aeroplane. You see that there propeller, boy? I tell you, son, that's a little thing keeps the pilot cool, because when it stops, the pilot gets very warm. Oh, no, I think I was never really a shy child. No, under it. God, woman, you cut my ear off. At school, I always seemed to be involved in things that were of a rowdy nature. Hello? Billy Cooper, how are you, boy? Hang on. Don't get excited. Hang on. Whoop, 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 whoop. And how's the delightful wife, old son? When's she due to boil? Hey?
The style is outgoing.
Yeah, I'll bet.
When people phone this man, they speak to a cheerful optimist.
I think we're to think of all sort of...
Face to face, they find themselves talking with a man who takes a surprising interest in their stock and a friendly interest in themselves.
Yeah. Just have the wool mark and stay like it is.
It's pretty stable at the moment, isn't it?
The personal involvement may be spontaneous or premeditated. Either way, Tony Fountain is too much of a businessman not to understand its commercial value.
And then I missed you, and then I got involved in getting the horses ready, and I was done.
The small local agency is an enduring feature of the Australian livestock industry. But the national scene is dominated by a handful of very large companies. Our little group is challenging the big boys in the auctioneering game and scoring points. Despite their success, however, they will keep staff numbers small to retain the personal touch.
Like the ones that are there today?
Yeah, a bit better, a little bit bigger. You reckon they're not brilliant, are
It is the personal touch of this man that is making the difference. A man who, spontaneously or calculatedly, seems to throw an offer of friendship into each transaction.
Don't laugh, just you wait till you get over to sale and got to announce that they've all been measured.
He's got one of those engaging personalities that just sells him, I think. And he's very determined. And, if he gets a knockback the first time, he'll keep trying till he wins a client over.
How does he win him over?
Oh, I suppose if he was to ring someone and ask them if they had stock for sale, and they said no, well, he'd leave it a short time, and ring again, whereas a lot of other agents would give up. He just keeps going until he finally gets someone. They probably get sick of asking. But
So Tony's got a nerve.
oh, yes, plenty.
But
Sometimes I think too much. Gets the business in, so that's the main thing.
Yeah, when will you know the
But
number?
that's just his way of doing things. He just
he's very friendly to
just
people on the phone.
yes, yes.
Is that deliberate, calculated?
No, I think it's just his personality.
She's right, my boy. No sweat at all. Go on, Mother. Time to do me again.
Back
Go on.
again.
Ring it. No, we'll ring again. So what were you going on about?
Oh, never you mind.
No,
I'm
what were
just
you- What were you going on about?
trying to sort you out.
Why?
Just work out.
you're beautiful.
But
You want me?
turn your head
Yeah.
straight.
Well, what were you going on about?
We were trying to work out just what it is people buy when they buy Tony Fountain.
Oh, a very valuable commodity, as my mother would say. Beautiful little child.
Do you sell friendship?
What's the commission rate?
At 875, you're 900,000 driving past. God bless you. 25, and he doesn't even know the horse. At 925, at 925, $1 million, say yours. At 10, at 1 million, at 10, at 1 million, at 10, 20, 30, 40. You're in there. At 1,050,000 now. At $1,050,000. Done. What do you mean his check's no good? Took the bid there. 1,050,000. You're in. 60,000 now. At $1,060,000. $63,600 commission.